Well, you thought the year of Lemire was over, did you? Well, it's not over, okay? It's not over. We still have about a month to go with this thing, and I'm going to end it out in style. I will end it out in style. So, yeah. Yeah. That's really all I got to say. So, I guess we should get to it. Hello everyone, Britton here, also known as Smoke Dude, and I'm back here today with another video, another episode of Year of Lemire, where I talk about the comic book work of Canadian comic book creator Jeff Lemire, and today I'm going to be discussing his much-loved run on Animal Man that he did for the New 52 for DC. This is actually my first time reading this book, and yeah, it's a... yeah, if you want to blow $60, I got this off of Amazon. If you want to throw $60 into the wind. Not regretting it, at least not at the moment. So, yeah, I guess we should get to it, shall we? Animal Man, this character here, is one of those characters who gained new life as one of the characters who was reinvented by the British invasion in the late 80s to early 90s for DC Comics, later known as Vertigo. That's where a lot of them ended up going. It was Grant Morrison who penned the most memorable run on this character, or at least it's the one that most everyone in comic bookdom remembers anyway. Like Alan Moore on Swamp Thing or Garth Ennis on The Punisher, Grant Morrison's touch on the character was so distinct that it can't really be removed. But Jeff Lemire came into the picture, and easily he could have done a riff on Morrison's run, and few would have likely noticed. I mean... I don't know. I'll have to figure that out when I get there, so that's called foreshadowing. But I imagine few would have likely noticed if he had done a riff on Grant Morrison's run, unless you're a diehard Lemire fan like myself, who probably would have been yelling about how he can and obviously should do better than that. Yet, I'm happy to say that luckily he did not do that. I do think there is some, I don't think, Lemire definitely has some elements of metafiction and the meta-commentary that everyone remembers from the Morrison run, with some particular potshots at the shallow nature of fame, as often is in there, as well as some references to previous Animal Man runs. I think even some to even Grant's old run in there as well, but it's a bit more subtle. Though, to be fair, I think most things in existence are more subtle than Grant Morrison, so, that's kind of a given there. But in all honesty, Lemire's take on Buddy Baker and his family felt a bit more reminiscent of Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing, with its focus more on the esoteric Red, the Red as it's called in DC Comics, kind of like the Green for Swamp Thing. And also more body horror elements, which I'll show more of as we get into the art element, but also like Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, Lemire's Animal Man even takes a turn into dark fantasy by the time that the run is coming to a close. I mean, hell, there's even a part at the end of this run where Animal Man goes into space, which is also quite reminiscent of Moore's Swamp Thing run, which I kind of forgot about that when I was writing the script of this video, quite obviously. But this run is in Lemire's voice and never loses sight of that voice as it goes along. It even has the emotional thread that hallmarks many of Lemire's best works, too, while combining that with the superhero fun that you'd come to expect from DC Comics' vast universe. Honestly, the strongest part of this run is easily the family drama. I mean, Lemire just loves families. He just really enjoys writing about them, and he often finds himself writing about them. But what makes Buddy Baker an interesting character in particular, and one that really, I think, fits Lemire's sensibilities, is that he's just a regular guy. Albeit one who gets roped in the wacky superhero shenanigans, but still an average guy. Lemire takes it a step further in this run as Buddy juggles with his responsibilities as an avatar to the Red, his family life, his superhero life, and his life as a celebrity. It's a bit stressful, as you'll probably come to realize. But Lemire never forgets to ground the character of Buddy Baker making him into a perfectly relatable everyman that I think most people can get behind. It did for me. It also helps that Buddy's family is just so damn likable. I mean, Buddy's relationship with his daughter was a highlight in particular. It was really sweet and even quite touching at points, especially as the end of the run comes along. You might notice that I find the end of the run is really where I think Lemire shines the most. But also memorable is the trippy, surreal, and sometimes even creepy artwork of some of Lemire's collaborators, particularly from Travel Foreman, who who did much of the illustrations beginning out. And it's really a shame that he didn't do more work with Lemire. Here's some of his illustrations right here. You can kind of see the body horror elements that you'd come to know from. Here's some more. Here's a really good spread right here. I think that's Travel Foreman as well. Let me actually look. Yes, it is. It's really good. I really like it a lot. It makes me sad that him and Lemire did not work together more. And I'm still also mad that they didn't do the proposed Doom Patrol run that Lemire talked about doing. Because I think they work really well together. I really like their dynamic together. I don't know if it's quite to the level of creative syncrasy as Andrea Sorrentino, for sure. I think that's the guy who most complements Jeff's style that isn't, Jeff Lemire himself. But I do think he and Lemire make a good duo. And Lemire makes a lot of use of Foreman's talents. Steve Pugh also does some really good work, which makes sense because he had already worked on Animal Man before, so there's a lot of familiarity there. But you can see right here, he is generally a bit more on the more conventional superhero kind of art, which is fine. But I do think he is able to ground it as well, much like how Travel Foreman can. Here's some more. I think that's also some Steve Pugh artwork. I need to check, actually. There's even some artwork from American Vampire artist Raphael Albuquerque, which is toward the end of the run. You might know him from American Vampire. Here's some artwork from him. Hold on, let me get this together. This book is so big. I'm sorry, guys. There's some artwork from Albuquerque. And also the late, great John Paul Leon, as they call him at my local comic shop, also did some pretty solid work, especially during some of the more meta elements. I can't find his art at the moment, but the art is consistently really good in this. I really like the trippiness of the art, especially when Travel Foreman was on, and even towards the end, we see Jeff Lemire take a crack at it, which, it's in his usual Jeff Lemire style. So, yeah. There are some weaknesses, though, I do believe hold Animal Man back a little bit, at least this run, being on par with some of Lemire's best outings. I do think the Rot World arc that he's kind of playing with at the beginning of this run, that he did with Scott Snyder, did feel a bit rushed in some places. I do think it was better paced in this run than it was in Scott Snyder's Swamp Thing run, per se, but I don't know if that's really saying much, but there were still some issues that I had that kept me from connecting with it, though I do think it moved a lot better than Scott Snyder's Swamp Thing, which just kind of felt messy to me. I didn't really take to it. But with that said, I do think that Lemire really begins to shine once that Rot World arc comes to a close. I mean, there is a tragedy that really rocks the Baker family, and the fallout of that event, I think, are some of the strongest bits of writing from this run, as Lemire does not hold back in depicting grief in a very raw and sometimes brutal manner. It also gets better as Lemire introduces some more fantastic elements to the run, particularly once the Red gets in danger. And there's also a character who's like a buffalo guy. There he is right here. His name's Shepard. He's a lot of fun. I really like this character. I'm really glad. I don't know if this is Lemire's invention or if he was in some of the previous Animal Man runs. If anyone wants to note that to me, just let me know. But yeah, he's great. I really enjoy him a lot. He's really a lot of fun. But it does turn into more of a dark fantasy as it comes along, especially as it goes from body horror to dark fantasy. And Lemire even utilizes the Teen Titan villain, the old Teen Titan villain, Brother Blood, or some of them might recognize him from his brief role in the Arrow TV show, which, funnily enough, Jeff Lemire also did a run on Green Arrow. But in this, he actually reimagines him as an adversary of Buddy Baker. He wants the Red for himself. And there's some really interesting stuff that he does with the Red. I won't entirely spoil what happens, but there's an interesting twist regarding Buddy Baker's role as an avatar for the Red. I won't say what it is, but if you read the run, you know what it is. And I would like to you guys to read it for yourselves, because it's really quite a lot of fun. But back to the weaknesses, I do think there's also a sense of incompleteness with this run, and it's sad to say. There are threads that Jeff introduces that never fully get resolved. I did hear that it might have been because DC canceled the run, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. But if that's the case, I am sad to hear it, and I can't say I'm surprised if Jeff had to end things prematurely. Lemire interrupted, if you will. Now, fortunately, the ending that Lemire gives us is very strong in this run, in his usual touching, folkloric, bittersweet way that he likes to end things. And I actually thought the ending kind of reminded me a little bit of Sweet Tooth at points. I don't know if it's quite as powerful as Sweet Tooth, but it did have that very kind of folkloric end that series had, and it was really well done. And for this was his first major superhero work, and it really went well. I really liked it. It's really good. But nonetheless, it was sad to see this run end on a somewhat premature note. There were even some some avenues I could have imagined where Jeff could have taken him had DC let him finish the run in his own terms, but unfortunately, that is not the world we were given. I really would have loved to see what else he could have done with the character of Buddy Baker, because I do think there was still more to do. But this is what we ended up getting, and what we ended up getting, I can't say I was dissatisfied with. It's a very solid run, very consistently well written. I do think it's better focused than the Scott Snyder Swamp Thing run, if you guys have read that. But yeah, so that is my review of Animal Man by Jeff Lemire. This is his run. Again, if you want to throw $60 away, I don't know if the price has gone up again, but if you want to throw money at the omnibus, feel free. It's a good run, though. I do think it's worth the price. So yeah. That is really all I have to say for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, like, comment, subscribe. If you guys have read this run, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. You can find me on social media. You can find me on Twitter. You can also find me on Goodreads and Letterboxd that have reviews. They're probably more coherent than the one you just heard right now. You can also find me on Instagram and also Blue Sky. I am starting to get the hang of Blue Sky, so yeah, you can follow me on there. I don't use it too much, but I am on there, so you can come see me. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this this episode of Some Oak Dude and Year of Lemire. As always, like, comment, subscribe. As my buddy John Minton likes to say, it feels good when you do it. And not really much else for me to say. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and well, until next time, see you guys later. Bye-bye.